Hi, Sana.
Hi. Hello. So we are live, and I welcome everyone to the Mind, Body, and Tech, a weekly live show where we talk about balancing success and well being. Subscribe and check out previous interviews. So today I have Jens Wernborg as my guest. With over 25 years of experience, he is a mentor helping businesses thrive in Asia. He's also the director of Startup Grind Hong Kong. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Sana. It's great to be here.
Thank you. I really appreciate. I know you're a very busy person, so you have so many roles. You have you travel a lot, right? So I suppose that my first question is how you keep up with everything.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to be here, and yes, we do travel a lot. Uh, I think how do I keep up with everything? I think I try to use technology to the best of its advantage. I mean, I try to make sure that I don't have to remember things because I always book all my meetings, for example, in my calendar, so I don't have to worry about remembering something. And I think that's one of those things to be able to be here and now is not to stress about afternoon because I just make sure that I kind of everything I do, I use technology to book with. And yeah, so that's one of the things. Technology can be stressful, but if you make it work for you, yeah, then it has good advantages.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely like you in terms of calendar. I'm putting everything there. Sometimes it's crazy, but I use different calendars for different things. For example, work stuff like meetings. Then not forgetting to have a lunch or
Mm,
breakfast or dinner and so on. So planning these things and planning like things with my family. We have family calendar. So yeah, otherwise it's crazy. Absolutely. So let's talk about first part mind. What is the most important mental skill you've developed?
well, I think it if I go back to so as you said, I've been working in mainly in Asia, and I came
Mhm.
to Hong Kong back in 1998. And somewhere early on, I mean, I came from Sweden, what was you know relatively dry and relatively not so hot and relatively not so many people in one place. So I kind of figured out that I needed just to accept that it's going to be okay. It's like to sort of be able to not to get stressed out by things happening. One of those very simple things, and which I still tell people when they visit Hong Kong, maybe for the first time, is that yes, you are going to get hot and you are going to get sweaty and you're going to go into a meeting and you're going to say that. So if you gone in the same way and look the same way in Sweden, like you might have felt uncomfortable, but it's perfectly okay. It's just it is okay because that's just the way it is. You cannot walk up a set of stairs without it's getting with the humidity. So I think one of those things that early on was that it's just okay.
Mm.
And if you, yeah, and that's so it's like having a baseline of it's okay. That and that not to let things irritate you which is also another thing when you shift from a cold weather to a hot weather. You do it's easy to get irritated by stuff that is not irritating actually. So yeah, I think that's one of the skills to have
Mm.
try to have a calmness baseline.
Yeah, nice one. Uh, about Asia, what there's so big difference, not just in terms of weather. I mean, how you basically now you in Stockholm, so but you are many days you are in Asia, so it's absolutely different worlds. What was the hardest thing for you, except weather, to like start working there and succeed and continue work there?
Well, I think so. Yes, Asia. There's a lot of difference between different locations in Asia, but there is also a lot of difference between different locations in Europe. So that's.
True, true.
Uh, I think one of the things that I liked with Asia. I mean, and now so I came to Hong Kong in 1998, and then I did my first trip into mainland China, went to India, and so on. Those were the sort of the early days. I think one of the things I really liked was the intensity that people were basically you were kind of doing, if not business, you were at least doing relationship building at work, but also after work. And since many people were new or newish, everybody was very welcoming to say, "Oh, you're new here," and then half a year later, I could be the one say, "Oh, you're new here," because everybody had been new. So
Mhm.
therefore, you people very quickly and if you like to do stuff and if you like to play, I remember back then it's like you had a floor hockey team and you had this and this. There were always activities going on to join, and then you just found what you liked. But I think that the main thing which I still find very fascinating is that you tend to still be kind of working even though it's maybe 7 or 8 in the evening, but it doesn't feel like it.
Mm, okay. So, what about you have advisory roles, you mentor. So, how do you approach problem solving?
Yeah, so I like yeah, so I got to know Startup Grind in 2016. And at Startup Grind we do at least one event per month. That's kind of one part, and the other one is that we meet a lot of startups and also in my work role I was helping companies to establish in Hong Kong and mainland China, later in India. So getting a problem to solve is like solving a puzzle, because if it is fun to solve, of course there are problems that are um, uh, maybe there are problems that are not so fun to solve, but as soon as you get in, as soon as you meet somebody and they might say they have a challenge, then I try to solve the challenge and or solve the problem or solve the puzzle, and that of course you get sort of energy of that interaction. So some people like to do Sudoku puzzles. Some people like to do crosswords. I really enjoy meeting with people, founders, startups, managers, CEOs, and then they say, "Oh, how do we do this? How do we do that?" And that's kind of a puzzle solving. So my approach is uh, if you if you say I don't do so many crossword puzzles and not so many Sudoku puzzles, but I do like to meet people, and you meet them for a coffee, or you have a now lately or this last during the pandemic. So of course you had a lot of video meetings.
Mhm. Well, I get it 100%. That's why, like we've met on Techstars, and I enjoy mentoring startup founders, and probably that's why I became a performance coach because I'm solving the puzzles because each person, each company, each team, it's a puzzle basically because they have different problems to solve. So yeah, it's rewarding. It's great. Um, how you stay mentally sharp? Do you have some tips and tricks?
I well, I think um, so. Being physically active in some form and being mentally sharp, I think, is well connected. and then um, trying. If you see, so I had a dialogue yesterday with I had a coffee with a founder yesterday, and we were discussing how something could be displayed on a phone, on a device, on a mobile phone, on the screen. And I said, why don't you look at games? Because they are able to show all of that stuff. And then, you can take some cues or some, if they can make it beautiful, maybe we can make it this more business-like app also beautiful. So uh, I think one of the ways of staying mentally sharp is to not to try to limit yourself in the
Mm.
thinking. There's a there, if you try to look, as I said, when you look at games, you look at maybe at the bit of the future, but at the same time, trying to be creative and not shut things down and say, no, 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 that's impossible. Because if you do that, then you might put up blocks, and blocking yourself in your thinking is probably not a good idea. So yeah, staying, being physically active, reasonably so, and you can of course take a walk and think as well as you can sit down and think, and then taking a walk and think is a better idea because you get two
Yeah.
things done at the same time.
Yeah, optimization. Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, for sure. Do you measure your own performance, your achievements, your successes? How do you do that if you do that?
Uh, so you try to set up short and long term goals. And for example, if you just look at Standard Grind we mentioned, we have as a goal to do 12 events per year. So yeah, and that means once a month, and that's one of the sort of goals. Another goal could be to, you try to wake up at about the same time every morning so that you get started, not to sort of feel like you waste a Saturday or a Sunday, that because you could probably have done something more. So setting goals, short-term goals that you feel that you could accomplish something, then you can give you some kind of reward, and then by having short-term goals, they will of course on each other build to the long-term goals. But by getting to those short-term goals, that you're on your way. Because if you set a 2-year goal, then might be tricky to say, actually, am I actually on the way to solving that? But if you can say that on a month by month, I am, then okay, then you're on the right track.
Mm. Do you use some tools for that, for planning, for goal setting?
Apart from, as I mentioned, just using a calendar to not have to think about things to remember, just to make sure. Not particularly so. I mean, I have a vision of what I want to achieve, and as soon as I book something, do something, I put it into the calendar. So I would say my calendar is probably one of my most used tools to keep track of what I'm going to do. And that is, and then you can have a future events that are, January, February next year, and you can have stuff that is going on today and tomorrow, and so on. So yeah, I would say that I fall back on the calendar becomes a little bit of like a notebook in the sense of that.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes calendar can be overwhelming too, especially when person not actually planning, for example, work meetings or something like that. So it can be hard to manage all of that, but probably you have some advice for people who have so many events in their calendar, how to manage all of that and don't be overwhelmed.
Yeah. So okay. So if you triple book yourself, that's going to be very stressful.
Oh yeah,
So avoiding
sure.
avoiding that. The other thing is to also block time before and after something so that you have travel time, because we all, if we don't have a digital
Breathing
meeting,
time. I,
yeah,
I
breathing
I'm
time for me.
blocking breathing time
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. And then, so let's say that you do by accident book yourself for 3 different events, and 2 of them are being recorded, well, then just focus on one of them, and then the other 2 you can try later to catch up on that topic that it was discussed, if the event was recorded and so on. But I think trying to, because if you over promise to yourself and say, oh, I'm going to do all of these 3 events, then you're going to feel bad about having not you because you did one, but you're going to feel bad because you didn't do the other 2. And then I would say avoid making that triple booking, because you're actually probably going to feel worse about it than the positive if you finished one event. So book one, and the other 2 then set them aside as, maybe sign up to get the recording, but then you don't feel stressed there and then that you should have been in 3 different places. And then book, the travel time or the breathing time around,
Mm,
so that you
yeah.
don't get late to the next event or meeting.
Yeah, and sometimes I think we need to ask ourselves, am I going too fast? Like, should I a bit slow down, maybe today or tomorrow or this week? Because when people feel this overwhelm, that doesn't look good. That means you are not on the wheel. You're not managing anything. You are going with the flow, and oops, and it's actually a bad thing because you can be burned out in no time because of that too. So yeah, blocking time, I think it's the best thing. I'm 100% there. And before and after, like I'm using that a lot because sometimes it can be like you're jumping. Especially, I feel that when you are on this Techstars madness, when you have calls with founders, like um all the way you like talking to different people, jumping call from one call to another, and you just like, oh my god, I need to breathe. And yeah, for me it was first time it was very hard, but then I understood, like, okay, this day I'm doing only this thing,
Hmm.
that's it, and then I'm laying down. That's it. Okay, so do you have maybe a story about the most ambitious goal you've set for yourself professionally?
Yeah, so well, so my I wanted to go to Asia, so it took me to Asia. Now it was just to be for 1 year, and then it became 2 year and 3 years, and now it's a number of years later. I think one of the things that I always try to balance out is a balance. Is that I do have my partner in Hong Kong, and I got my dad in Sweden. So I try to get, and that's my goal, to get that to work, and to get that to work in a sort of also professionally. And as we are, I mean, now in 2023 with virtual meetings and so on, it's more possible than. But that's always been my kind of goal, to make this work on a on a two locations. Um, Going back in time, I set up an office in Hong Kong and one in Guangzhou, and those 2 offices were basically 3-4 hours apart when it comes to travel time, trains, passport controls, and all that. So I tried to early on figure out how can I have 2 offices without, or figuring out, it's like you kind of have this paperless philosophy and all that stuff. But it was 2 locations, and to make that work, my goal right now is to make 2 locations a little bit further apart, but with video meeting, with WhatsApp and all that stuff, you can still make them work. So that's my goal, to make it work. Sweden, Asia, Hong Kong, that
Mm,
part.
wow. Well, I really wish you like get there whenever you need, as soon as it's possible, because balancing like one location is hard, but several, it's absolutely harder. All right. So, what about your routines? Your like daily routines or habits? Do you do you use some sort of tips and tricks to like keep your energy levels high?
Yeah, one of those, of course, is coffee,
Oh,
but not in the afternoon because that kind of makes it hard to
of
sleep.
course.
So in the morning, but yeah, but as like the routine is trying to get up at a reasonable time. I like to work um, in an office. I mean, I like to work with people, so I travel into both here in Sweden and in Hong Kong to our office, and that then you meet other people. So not sort of staying at home, even though it's possible. So that's one of the routines. Like get up, actually go to a location. Then yes, there are meetings booked. Some of them are virtual meetings, some of them are physical meetings, but kind of having a mixture of interactions with people. And then a little bit depending on the weather, though, but towards the end of the day, if possible, to take a shorter or longer walk, which is one of the sort of because you can also sort of catch up with people, having a call with them, but you can still walk. So that is I would say I'm not in a routine that I get back to. If I would book a routine and I don't do it, then I might feel stressed about it. And I think that's one of the things, like not feeling bad or stressed about something. Let's say that you do something Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then you miss Thursday. If you feel too bad about it, maybe then actually the good thing you did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is not. So
Yeah.
don't feel bad about it if you don't do it, and therefore don't make it a routine that actually works.
Mhm. Yeah, and in winter time, especially when people get sick, like because of the weather, people who are like keeping up with their workout routines and so on, they feel bad that they got sick, and it's harder for them to get back on that routine. But if you feel like, okay, I'm letting myself do whatever I want, and I can get back there and try again, like to build my routine. This is maybe the most important part, because people become upset that they are not keeping up with their routines more than like they should.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's, I think, where you have to think about. I mean, you have to have a healthy routine that, should you for some reason, it's raining too much or it's icy outside, which is going to be in a few weeks,
Mm,
then maybe it's not a good idea to do that routine, because actually the downside. And then if you don't do it, then you feel bad about it, but then try to avoid feeling bad about it, because
yeah.
that's not good for you either. So trying to me, I made 75% of the walks that I wanted to. Okay, that's better than not
The
having
nothing.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so how do you manage stress? I suppose you have, as we all have a lot of stress, and how do you manage it and keep yourself balanced?
Well, so there are certain stressful situations you can try to avoid. I mean, and this is so that you talk to people, like when they fly, for example. Are you early at the
Mm,
airport, or are you late at the airport? Do you want to have a long time between flights? I'm the person who comes early to the airport, and I like to have pretty good time between flights if I'm going to go somewhere and there's interconnect, because then I don't need to stress. And with laptops and etc., I can work there. So why should I stress myself out or run? um, Others like to be very sort of on time. That's one way you can try to avoid stress. The other one, of course, is to sort of mentally offload the things that you can do, that you're supposed to do tomorrow, so that you know that you're going to do them tomorrow, but you don't need to stress about them today. That's another one, sort of to avoid stress. And then back to when I came down to Hong Kong in '98, it's like it's hot, it's humid, it's it's like it's going to be okay. And of course, you have to prioritize certain things. Certain things you just have to do, and then you prioritize them and then fix those first. And then then the not so important things, maybe you shouldn't get stressed about them. So just have a fewer things on the short list to do, and then fix those, and then yet again,
Mm.
because otherwise, if you do something that is not as important, you're going to get very stressed about the important stuff. So organize
Yeah.
things in the right order.
And probably remember your vision and where you're going. Because sometimes, like for my 6 year old, a lot of stuff is very important and it's like do or die. So I'm keeping remembering, like, okay, should I be stressed about, is it a really priority? Because I don't want to be like my 6 year old, like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. So, absolutely. And you travel a lot. So, maybe you have some life hacks, how to travel better. I don't know, easier.
Yeah, no, okay. So one thing, of course, is I did this presentation last week about sourcing at an event, and we talked about purchasing and production in Asia, China, India, so on. And I said, send the people who like to travel, send the people who, because we have different types of people. I mean, in the sense, we are some people, we like to explore, some people
Mhm.
uh, we like to collect, we buy stuff and whatever. Now, if you are going to go on a week trip across India and visit factories and factories, then if you have somebody who enjoys that and all the things in between, sort of the food, the travel, the experience, then that person is going to come out of, is going to do a better job at the
Yeah.
factories because they're going to enjoy the time in between. If you don't like, if you rather not travel as much, then so I would say that when you to finding the right colleagues to and maybe that's, so you said life hack. Well, I do enjoy travel. I do enjoy experiencing, and therefore I enjoy going in between two places because that is also part of it. Um, uh, I do like to take, I mean, and I can see myself and my dad. So I do like to take photographs with my phone because I try to sort of become too many photos. So, but my dad says, no, I don't take any photos. I just remember. So he is even one step further in regards. He doesn't get stressed that he wasn't able to take a photograph of something. He just looks at it, remembers it, and then he walks on. And I think that's probably the next step, is to find those things that to not feel that, oh, I should have captured that moment. No, you saw it and you remember it and you can retell it. So to conclude, it's the life hack is basically to enjoy the things around that you do. So if you yeah, when you enjoy meeting people and you go to an event and you're there to network or to sell something, you're going to enjoy it more than if you felt not happy to be there. So yeah, I try. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy, even like, um, for some people, it depends on personality, of course. But if you, for example, if you start a founder and you are not exactly outgoing, but you need to build a business, right? So, and you need to travel and you need to meet people because you have this vision of your product, of success, and so on. So, what should this person do? He's not extroverted, but he like motivated. But it's hard because to you cannot just become outgoing person who loves to talk people right to people. So what do you think this person should do?
Yeah, so there are a few things you can do. In the first part of the, when you're early stage, you are still solving a problem for somebody. And if you do talk to other people how you can solve their problem, then you are not you're coming with a positive message. Therefore, you can be proud of what you're doing, and therefore it becomes a little bit easier to think. It's not so salesy anymore. It's more informative, because if you don't tell people how this problem can be solved, then those people will still have the same problem.
Mm.
So that's the first thing when you're talking about potential customers and all. Now, if you say look at the investors, well, do they have a problem? Well, in essence, they are supposed to allocate the money that been pulled up, and that's supposed to yet again either become more money or solve a problem. So if you tell them about how you're solving a problem, then and if it resonates with them, they will like to talk to you back. So if you're feeling, oh, I don't want to go out and sell this product, no, don't sell it, inform about it. Because if you
Mm.
solve a problem, then later on, of course, when you go to an event, you can set yourself short goals, like you talk to 3 people or 5 people and get 3 business cards, and then after that you're allowed to go and have a coffee or a snack, and then go out there and get another 3 or 5 business cards. So you push yourself and give yourself small awards along the line. And lastly,
Mm.
I would say, as the team grows, finding somebody also who is part of the team, who is very energetic and outgoing, and who can be that person who is out there, um, taking those initial contacts, and then you can have a sort of a maybe more structured meeting with those people that person brought in, and if giving that person a sort of a high enough title, and so that people also say that, okay, I spoke to this. It might not be the co-founder, but it's the person who is out there. So yeah, I would say first step, you're not selling something, you're solving a problem. If you don't tell that, people won't know. Secondly, reward yourself, and thirdly, as the team grows, find other people who can help you with this process.
Mm. Thank you. Nice one. Um, Getting back to travels, how you stay healthy when you travel a lot?
Well, yeah. So I think so. Um, uh, when I was younger, I was running. Of course, was one good thing when you were younger, but I still think that walking is one of the better ways of staying healthy, because it takes you from A to B, and it also, if you go to a new city, you can sort of walk around the block or walk around and explore things. And of course, at the same time as you are exploring things, you're also staying active. Um, yes, of course, I if there are facilities at an hotel, for example, a swimming pool, that's of course a great thing that you can swim. But I would still say, if you find um, the the easiest way to stay healthy, to increase your pulse a little bit, walking fast, that's a good one on that. And yeah, and then of course everything else, schools, gyms, and so on, of course, is a bonus. But if you're in a gym, you're not going to see anything else. You're just going to see the
Yeah.
mirror in front of you, rather than you actually, oh, I walked, say you visit Bangkok and you walked this and this, and you saw all of these places on the way, and then you walked back. Then you got exercise, and you got stimulus from the outside world as well.
Yeah, and you've seen like real life, not just sightseeing from the bus or something like that. Yeah, great. Maybe you have some, like, because you work with innovations, with startups, with founders. Maybe there's some technologies that you think are the game changers for you, for your, maybe for your performance, for your goal achievement, and so on?
Well, if you look at performance and this year, 2023, I think one of the things that I really, I mean, enjoyed is ChatGDP. I mean, it
Yeah.
just it just solves. It doesn't solve problems, but it makes things much faster. And you can kind of having as a sounding board, or you throw a text in there, and I mean it works in Swedish as well. So you say, is this good, or could it be improved in some way? And then you look at it, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's a good version. So I think that, and that's just, for me, that's kind of 6 months ago or 7 months. I was like in March this year, and uh, so that's a piece of technology that does help a lot, as I said before, the calendar. Now, another way of learning about technology is that I interviewed the founder on Startup Grind about how do you stay up to date with AI, and he basically said, well, you find a problem and you build something, and then you automatically go and find the solutions or the information about it. So I would say for this, like it's sometimes, yes, you might feel what, you shouldn't become complacent about using ChatGPT, but I would say that it does give you a second opinion super quick, and that second opinion is super valuable because it often, it's confirming that it's okay, but it often finds, if not, then some sort of small grammatical errors. So I'm very curious about what's going to come in the near future with when it comes to Microsoft's Copilot and so on, like, and to stay on. And I think that any, I mean, um, any person, any founder, any company should look at it. How can this enable us? How can it augment us to do more? It's not about replacing. It's just about becoming a little bit better and doing things a little bit faster. And then you get fascinated by it, sort of like, ooh, it can do this as well.
Yeah. This simple thing like creating emails with ChatGPT. It's like a magic wand. It changed the tone. It's like helps you to spend few minutes on such a simple thing that you're gonna spend otherwise 30 minutes or
Hmm,
maybe hours creating, especially when it's like this something very important.
yeah.
So yeah, I get that AI is making my life easier like since
Yeah.
since October, I suppose, last year.
And I think we all want some kind of feedback. I mean, getting
Yeah.
feedback. And if we would send our text to friends and family, hey, check this out. I mean, my aunt, she's always helping when we set up a starter grant event. She always helped me to look through it. But now I still do that, but it's now I have this, I can ask like, what do you think about this? And I paste the text in there and I get some feedback. And then you rework it maybe a little bit. But it's getting the feedback, the sort of the either it's, you know, it's if it's not good, then it will tell that, and then you will make a new version. But getting that, in the end, you will have gotten positive feedback because you will have made something which is better than the original version, and it will tell you that, and then you get that little dopamine, like, yes, got it,
Mhm.
got it. So yeah.
And you're learning too, because when you have this feedback, when you have this information, like you're learning because you remember how it was. Like, okay, this phrase, I love it, I'm gonna use it again and again. So yeah, you're learning too, and this makes you better,
Mm.
basically. um so let's talk about tools that you use day by day. You told already about calendar, about ChatGPT, but I suppose you have some sort of arsenal of the tools that you use.
Yeah, and I think it's also how you use the tools.
Yeah.
I try to stay on that sort of the zero inbox, meaning that whatever is in my Outlook inbox, and yes, several mail accounts, but whatever is in the actual inbox are things to be actioned. If I'm done with it, I just have a folder that is called done, and so it's out of the mailbox. That way, and then of course, so I I hear about. I mean, I hear about people using Notion. I looked at it. I hear about, you. There are a lot of good tools to help people. Uh, if you learn to use maybe a fewer set of tools, but learn to use them really well, then that probably is more beneficial than having many tools. And also, when it comes to tools, I mean, tools don't often come for free, so often there's a bit of a subscription to it. I used Evernote for a number of years, but eventually I figured I wasn't really needing it for what it was. So as I said, if you really, and this is, yet again, where YouTube videos and stuff like that, there are so many tips and tricks that you can probably figure out that, I could do this as well in my email software, or I could do this as well. I could tag something, I could set a reminder. Those things just helps you to sort of keep a clean inbox, because you moved things away, you put reminders on them, so they will come back to you maybe in a week when it actually needs to, when you actually need to think
Yeah.
about it, not before that. Yeah. So I do love to find new tools, but I also say, like, I have to kind of limit myself to the tools. And as I said, I mean, if you just look at a cost perspective on using too many tools, you probably find that you could do with a fewer, learn more about them. So yeah.
Mm, yeah. By the way, I do adore zero inbox, because otherwise, when I see some people have over 300 or 3,000 emails not ever opened, I have anxiety. So
Yeah.
that's why I actually love to use Spark, and I use it through all my devices, and it helped me a lot, because there are so many. Like, you can tweak with that whatever you
Mm.
want, and I have many inboxes for my work, and otherwise I'm gonna be like frustrated and nervous, like a crazy person. So Spark helped me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and I,
So yeah.
I was just going to say that some things also, when you build a team, when you grow something, you might initially want, hey, please CC me on these things. But eventually that
Oh,
CCing is going to be a problem for yourself. So rather than have the team understand that, no, they can have a direct communication with somebody without needing to CC you, one less email to take care of, but also that if something happened, to alert you that something is going on. Now, here's a big difference between, I would say, Europe and Asia. In Asia, sometimes you need to be CC'd on something, not because you need it, but because the recipient expects
mm,
somebody to be on CC. And then, of course, then you make that as an agreement with your staff and say, that's perfectly fine that you CC me, because we know that
yeah.
the company now we're trying to sell to, they want that. But you also tell them, I'm not going to look at them until, if something
You ping
happens. So
me, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
That's
you,
interesting. That's
yes, so
interesting. Yeah.
you work tactically with that.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have some advice for entrepreneurs, for startup founders who want to grow and expand in the Asian markets?
Yeah. So I think, okay, so if we look at, as we said earlier, Asia is so different in different ways.
Yes.
I think Vietnam and Indonesia is one of the two youngest nations on the world when it comes now to the average age, for example. So depending on what you are doing, what service you are providing. I mean, you're in cybersecurity, then you probably can find customers all over Asia, because it's every computer is connected and they are all the same. It's the same challenge here. So if you're in that business, you can gonna. If you are in ride hailing or in e-commerce, well, then they will differ from different markets. so I think to understand, try quickly to understand who is my customer. Is it a business to business product or is it a business to consumer product? If it's a business to consumer product, how am I going to handle, for example, logistics? If you're actually shipping something, how are you going to handle different currencies and all? Now, there are many who has done the same journey before, so you just kind of ask, and there is where the community come in. It's like somebody's
Yeah.
done it before, and then you learn from them. But and maybe you need to tweak the product in some way and form to more fit to the market, and that's especially when it comes to payment systems. If you then you quickly do that. Um, so it to there's a lot of opportunity. Have respect for a certain amount of preparation, but do test things, and do talk to, because each country has their own startup community in some form, and join them, and you can, as we do now, we have a video meeting, join it and talk to them, and ask those questions. So that I would
Mhm.
say there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's very interesting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you. And thank you for sharing, not holding back. And it was fun conversation. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Sana. It's great to be here, and yeah, it's anyone who watches this, reach out. LinkedIn, easy to find, so do
Yeah.
connect, and yeah, looking forward to keep in
Okay.
touch.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and watch other episodes or review this one. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.